Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Luke and here on this channel I talk about fragrances. In this video I want to talk about classic Oriental fragrances from my collection. Where I live it's currently 12 degrees, so there's already a chill in the air and autumn is upon us. And I absolutely love to wear Oriental fragrances at this time of year, starting in September, in anticipation of Halloween and then Christmas and the holiday season in December. And just to be clear, by Oriental, I mean proper classic Orientals that feature a lot of ambery notes, resins, warm spices, incense, balsamic notes, and even woody notes. There won't be any vanilla or florals in this video. Today we're discussing classic amber spicy or spicy Orientals that are deep, rich, warm, and exotic smelling. So why not start with one of the most iconic Orientals of all time? It's none other than Opium from Yves Saint Laurent, released in 1977. Opium hit the market like an atomic bomb. Quite literally, it became the go-to classic Oriental fragrance for decades to come. It was a bold, opulent, and exotic Oriental scent that was also wearable and undeniably luxurious. Its name itself was quite scandalous, and the marketing campaign as well was very provocative, which contributed to Opium's popularity. So let's talk about the scent. Opium is an amber spicy balsamic fragrance. It's the scent of smouldering resins, sweet myrrh, opoponax, oriental spices with a hint of mandarin in the opening and vanilla and patchouli in the base. Opoponax is also known as scented sweet myrrh, and it has an intensely sweet balsamic aroma. And Opium, I would say, is predominantly a myrrh fragrance and a opoponax fragrance. And even though myrrh and sweet myrrh, also known as opoponax, are not exactly the same, this is very much a resinous balsamic myrrh fragrance with spices, vanilla, a bit of patchouli. It's completely unisex by today's standards. It's instantly recognizable, and when you wear this, even if you have the newer version, you'll be surrounded with a cloud of spices and resins. It's truly iconic, timeless, very sophisticated, opulent, a bit on the mature side, but also very intoxicating, I would say. Even the newest version is still amazing, even though it's not as good as the vintage. It's a bit weaker. It's definitely not as strong as the vintage. It's not as rich, deep, and opulent as the vintage, but it's still a beautiful fragrance, and the spirit of Opium, the essence of Opium, is still very much there. So that's Opium Eau de Parfum, the modern version. And let's move on to another classic Oriental. This one is from the 80s. Yes, I'm talking about Coco from Chanel. This fragrance came out in 1984, and it was supposed to evoke the myth of Coco Chanel. It has a sense of melancholy, darkness, and grieving, and that's because Coco died in 1971, and this fragrance was released under the slogan Une nouvelle femme, un nouveau parfum. So a new woman, a new fragrance, Coco de Chanel. So with this fragrance, they tried to revive the spirit of Chanel and her love of all things Baroque and Byzantine, and they succeeded. This is very much a Baroque fragrance. It's Oriental, spicy, but also floral. I wouldn't say it's a melancholic fragrance for me. For me, it's a happy fragrance, but it still has an air of seriousness and maturity, at least in my opinion. This wears very, you have to be dressed up for this fragrance. This is not something to wear with your tracksuit or loungewear or anything like that. It's very, very dressy, perhaps a bit pretentious, but, it's the spirit of Chanel. It's a lovely fragrance. It's an ambery floral with some freshness in the opening. You get some mandarin, you get some jasmine, some ylang ylang, as well as, of course, the amber, the spices, the cloves. perhaps a hint of cinnamon, but the cloves are the main spice that I can smell in this fragrance. I have to say though, if you get the newest formula of Coco, the EDT or the EDP, expect the fragrance to be a bit lighter, a bit fresher, a bit brighter. But if you open it and start using it, it will macerate and become richer and darker with time. That happened to my bottle that I bought, I want to say about 4 to 5 years ago. I haven't used a lot actually, even though I love this fragrance. And I also have a 100 milliliter backup because Chanel prices keep going up. And this fragrance in 10 years, it will probably cost 250 euros. So if you see Coco for a good price, definitely pick up a bottle. So that's Coco from Chanel. My choice is the EDT, but the EDP is also just as beautiful. The next fragrance that I want to discuss in this video is Ciara from Revlon. My bottle is the EDP, the 100% strength. And this is very much an old school, dusty, powdery, Oriental fragrance. It's ambery, balsamic, woody, smoky, a bit leathery as well, powdery, and even slightly vanillic. This fragrance is all about the incense. Yes, this is a very strong, smoky incense fragrance with a hint of raspberry. So if you like to smell like incense sticks and raspberry, by all means, pick this up. It has a vintage vibe, it's polarizing, it's challenging, but if you have the right skin chemistry for this fragrance, you'll absolutely love it. Because on my skin, this is very soft, powdery, smoky, even a bit sweet. And I really enjoy wearing it. I have to be in the mood for it because it's very, very, very strong. You know, you can pick this up for less than $10 and it's such a strong fragrance. It's unreal. The quality you get for the price is absolutely unreal and unmatched. Let's do another classic, and this one is You've Due from Estée Lauder, released back in 1953. Yes, it's a classic. The nose behind it was Joséphine Catapanot. It's an amber spicy, it's an opulent Oriental. It's very smooth, rich, velvety, ambery, spicy, balsamic, as well as powdery. And I have to say, this is a powder bomb, and I absolutely love wearing this to bed because it's so powdery and comforting on me. It's very polarizing. Some people absolutely hate it, but on me, this is very, very comforting, powdery, and it has this spicy, boozy opening that smells a bit like Coca-Cola, but it's also aromatic, and it also has a nice honeyed sweetness, amber, resins, a bit of musk. You know, it's one of those fragrances that has probably around 30 notes. It's very strong, very complex, very rich, but somehow very wearable. And I even wear this in the summer. I don't really recommend wearing it in the summer, but I do because it's such a comforting fragrance for me. But I understand that some people will recoil in horror, you know, if you wear this in the summer around them. You've Due is definitely an important classic Oriental, and that's because it paved the way for other Orientals that came later. This one came out in the 50s in form of a bath oil. Actually, it wasn't meant to be a fragrance at first, but because it was so successful, Estée Lauder launched it as a fragrance as well. And as you can see, it's still successful and it's still available and it's still something people go for. So that's You've Due from Estée Lauder. Next up, we've got Chantilly from Dana. This is also a classic fragrance. It's very old. It's from the 1940s, and it's classified as an Oriental floral. It's a very nice vintage style Oriental, but it's soft, sweet, and powdery. Very comforting, very powdery, very soft, and very delicate. If you don't like things like Opium, You've Due, Coco, if you find those too harsh, this one is the one to try because it's very soft, powdery, comforting, very pleasant. It has some vanilla, some citruses in the top, some florals, a hint of spice, and it does have quite a bit of vanilla. Fragrantica also lists leather and benzoin. I do detect benzoin, but this is very much a powdery, soft fragrance. It's a classic. And I will say that this is actually a more wearable, a softer version of Shalimar. In terms of performance, this one is more of a moderate performer. It only lasts about 6 to 8 hours on my skin, but it's so inexpensive that it doesn't really matter. So that's Chantilly from Dana. Moving on, we've got another classic. This one is classified as a chypre, but I would say it's also an Oriental because it has amber, it has spices, a bit of fruitiness in the opening. I'm talking about Femme de Rochas. So the original Femme from 1944, Femme means woman. The nose behind it was Edmund Rudnitska, who also created the Lily of the Valley scent from Dior. What's it called? I think it's Diorissimo. Yes, it's Diorissimo. But this fragrance is very much a fruity, spicy, ambery, mossy scent. It's very strong. It has an animalic bite. It opens sweet, plummy and peachy, but it has the richness of a true spicy Oriental like Opium. It's very heavy, and I did test this on my skin. It was so strong. I only need about 2 to 3 sprays of this one because it's so strong. And this fragrance is the perfect balance between the sweet fruits and the classic Oriental / chypre base. This decant was kindly sent to me by a subscriber. You know who you are. Thank you very much. If I ever use this up, it's a huge decant, by the way. If I ever use this up, I'll pick up a full bottle. So that's Rochas Femme. And we have another one that I really want to mention just briefly, because this is technically a patchouli fragrance, but it's also an Oriental fragrance because it has amber, vanilla, woody notes, patchouli, and it's a very rich ambery patchouli fragrance. I'm talking about Reminiscence Patchouli from the 1970s. This is a classic, and my subscriber Leah, she says this smells exactly like a hippie shop back from the 70s, and I do believe her because hippies back then, they doused themselves in patchouli oil, and this fragrance has a very high concentration of patchouli oil because it's this earthy, woody, aromatic patchouli with some amber, vanilla, and it's just gorgeous. Check it out. Patchouli by Reminiscence. So these are all the fragrances that I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment down below before you leave. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in one of my next videos. Bye.